shave my head and drown me in honey. Welcome to the Beyond the Film podcast. I'm your host, Tyler.
I'm Ryan, and I'm already halfway there.
Oh man, Ryan, what an excellent episode last week. We had such a great time talking about Shelby Oaks, but we're moving on. We're moving on to something a bit more prestige-y, but would you call this a horror film? Would you call Bugonia a horror film?
No, I don't think I would.
Okay. Like I think there's elements to it for sure. I'm gonna end up talking about the Twilight Zone a lot in this episode, and I think if you're a fan of the Twilight Zone, I think you'll get something out of this movie.
Agreed. Going on, I do think that it has elements of horror. I would consider
Mhm.
this more of like a psychological thriller, if anything, than horror. Then
Oh, sure. Yeah. For the record, on Wikipedia, it is described as an absurdist black comedy thriller. So take that what
interesting.
you will. Yeah. All right. So I'll set up the movie here real quick. Begonia is a film by Greek filmmaker Yorgos Lanthimos, who has kind of burst onto the scene within the last probably about 10 years or so. So he has made um a career of making really bizarre dark comedies that have this really nice absurdist angle to it. Um I first became aware of him back in 2015 with this film The Lobster with Colin Farrell. It's a really I wanted to watch the movie because just the idea of the movie really drove me in. Basically, it's about a like I don't know if it's a post-apocalyptic world or if it's like just this like sort of a dystopian world where if you are single, then you need to move into this hotel with other singles, and if you don't find a mate within like 30-45 days, you actually get turned into an animal. And in this case, a lobster. And the movie just ends up being a really great insight into modern relationships and how difficult it is in that dating process. And even though I didn't like love the movie, I did like it enough to say like, hey, this guy can go places. And it turns out he has. He made a not so great reviewed movie that leaned more into the horror angle, Killing of the Sacred Deer, which I still have not seen. It's really high up on my list. But after that, I mean, the move has just gone into either the next ballpark or the next stratosphere because Yorgos Lanthimos with his last previous two films, Sans Kinds of Kindness, The Favorite and Poor Things have been awards darlings. He has now made a muse out of Emma Stone, and now they reunite for 2025's Begonia, which is actually a remake of a 2003 South Korean film called Save the Green Planet. And essentially, the crux of this film is Emma Stone is a CEO of a massive pharmaceutical company who is kidnapped by a radical conspiracy theorist played by Jesse Plemons and his intellectually disabled cousin, who believe that she is an alien that is planning on potentially destroying the Earth to some degree, and they want to try to stop it. So a lot of the movie is going back and forth between is Emma Stone actually an alien, or is Jesse Plemons and his cousin just an absolute crazy psycho who kidnapped a woman for no reason? So I think the movie's really fascinating. I can't wait to talk about it. But first, I want to hear what Ryan thought of Begonia.
So going into Begonia was my first experience with this director. I have not seen any of his other movies. I've heard great things about them, and I like Emma Stone a lot, so I had high hopes for this. Um, but it was my first experience, and I can say it is a slow burn for somebody that's not used to this way of telling stories that he has. Um, I found myself not bored, but there were parts of the movie that I was like, okay, this is kind of dragging a little bit. But I will say that overall, like the slow pace of the movie is very rewarding throughout the movie. I find that it picks up at the exact right points, that you never get too bored with the film. There's always that little bit of interest, like you said, of like what's really going on here. Is she actually an alien? You get these kind of weird dream segments of some weird stuff happening to the main character's mom. So you're trying to see like, is he just going crazy? Is this all in his head that he's imagining? I do think that it's a very heavy allegory for mental health in the United States right now.
100%.
I I think that the movie does a lot of good. I do think that we'll see it come award time. Yeah, I mean, go on, Tyler. I want to hear more of what you think because obviously, as somebody that has more experience with this director, how does it compare to his other movies?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a potential this movie can get some awards buzz, but I don't think it's as strong of a prestige film as something like The Favorite or Poor Things. However, I mean, I really dug what this movie was laying down. Don't get me wrong. The movie's narrative is very, very simple. It still feels like a remake of a smaller film. But Yorgos Lanthimos, as a competent director, much like with Robert Eggers and the Nosferatu remake, when you take an existing franchise and you give an auteur like director the ability to kind of just do whatever he wants with the formula, you get very interesting results. Now, don't get me wrong. The plot of this movie is very simple. And as I mentioned before, it keeps going back and forth. Do you do you actually think that Emma Stone is an alien, or are these dudes just crazy? Maybe these dudes aren't so crazy because Emma Stone then does something that kind of makes you think the opposite way, and it keeps going back and forth, all the way till the end of the movie. Um, it feels a lot in a way like a Twilight Zone episode. So if you're unfamiliar, Twilight Zone, old '60s television show, that really was a good microscope onto society as a whole. Like Rod Serling used these sci-fi out of this world stories to tell and criticize American society during the Cold War. One Twilight Zone episode that I think really inspired this, and I could be completely off, but it's one of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes. It's called "The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street,"
Oh
and
yes.
essentially what happens is all of these people living in this community, they think they see like an alien spaceship land, and then all this weird stuff starts happening in the town, and slowly but surely, it all kind of like burns down, burns apart. Everybody turns on themselves, and it turns out, hey, aliens were actually above, controlling, making all this weird stuff happen to show that if you put enough fear and paranoia into these people, that they will tear themselves apart. And the aliens are kind of a allegory for the Russians at the time, and the fear of a communist takeover. Now, that kind of back and forth thing you get in Begonia. And even though it's very simple in that regard, I think where this movie really shines is that Yorgos Lanthimos' direction, his cinematography, how he chooses to move the camera, and how he frames shots, all constantly add to the story itself. Right? Emma Stone is shot from a variety of different angles to communicate this idea of power. Is she actually this victim who you should feel sorry for, or looking up at her, is she someone that these people have an actual right to fear? And realistically, I think what really, really sets this movie apart and elevates it to a level beyond like a two-star remake is just how good Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone are in this movie. Like this movie does not work if these two are not on the top of their game, delivering great performances. Emma Stone is this very stone faced. She plays a CEO to its T. That sort of ruthless, emotionless vessel that it only cares about the bottom line of a company. And Jesse Plemons does such a good job of playing such a familiar character that's sort of been brainwashed by the political echo chambers that we're sort of dealing with as a society right now. And he is able to make someone who, don't get me wrong, I would probably disagree with politically, but he ends up making him a truly sympathetic figure. Like you feel bad that he's essentially getting played by Emma Stone in a lot of ways. So I think where this movie will succeed, and if it does get any award buzz, I think it's either going to be for Yorgos Lanthimos as a director, or the two leads potentially as a star. So they're able to elevate, a pretty basic narrative that I think basically anybody can follow, into something that uh, truly stands out, and I think is truly special.
I'd agree. I want to point out, especially I know you brought up the main character already, but I believe
Mhm.
Aiden Delbus, who plays Don, I think he does also a fantastic job of portraying just
100%.
himself and kind of the struggles of like all he has is his cousin, and in this life of like, is he crazy or is he just so invested in loving his cousin that he's willing to go through this? Um, I also want to say that, in my opinion, the I brought up the allegory of mental health before. I do also think that the movie is trying to show, like, compared to a CEO and a normal human being, they're two extremes, but it's trying to show that CEOs kind of live an alien life from us. There's
Yeah.
obviously a scene in the movie where uh, she says, "I thought that we helped you through enough for some events that happened in the movie, and I thought that this was enough money that we gave you, but it quite honestly, obviously, wasn't." And
Hmm.
it goes into the fact that a CEO only looks of, like, how much money can I give you to make this go away. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important to look at with this movie. Is it's an allegory for a lot of things, really. Um, but I do think that there was a lot of good that came from this movie, and I do think that watching it multiple times will let you kind of see more and more of that.
Yeah, 100%. I think Emma Stone does a good job of maybe not doing a like a direct allusion to, your Elon Musks or something who,
Yeah.
you know, envision a world where because they are so rich, envision a world where like AI can replace all potential workers and like they in order to become that rich, you have to completely divest yourself from human feeling and emotion. And I think she does such a good job of like subtly portraying that throughout the movie. Yeah, it's once again one of her strongest performances. I think that, say what you will about Emma Stone and like the early part of her career, but like lately, and she's got 2 Oscars to show for it. She is really, really taking some risks, and she is not afraid to get down and dirty, to do some sex scenes, to do some nudity, to get her head shaved, and to just play some truly weird and bizarre and interesting characters. So where someone like, Lindsay Lohan, who maybe never elevated out of that teeny bopper phase for a variety of reasons. Emma Stone has truly, starting in films like Superbad and Easy A, has truly transformed herself into like a street level prestige actress. And I think Begonia is just once again yet another example. And I think her continued work with Lanthimos as a director is just going to continue to be really fascinating stuff. Do you actually know why the movie is called Begonia?
I know a begonia is a flower, I believe.
No, so it's actually an ancient. Well, who knows? It could be named after a flower, but begonia is actually an ancient Greek word meaning progeny from an ox. So basically, it tells of an old myth that many believe that bees used to rise from the dead carcass of an ox. So obviously, the film's use of bees as kind of like the central motif is really used as a metaphor for this idea that new life can constantly be sprung up. I
Hmm.
hope that's not too much of a spoiler. But once again, the movie plays with some interesting ideas, not just about like this very centralized story of this kidnapping, but also just what is in store for humanity after they've done everything to destroy the earth and nothing to repair it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot to unpack with this movie, and I'm trying to be as
Yeah.
vague as possible, which is why I keep pausing and thinking about what I'm doing, because this is a
No. Yeah.
movie that I truly think should be gone into without knowing a lot of what happens, because there were some scenes in this movie that I was not expecting to take that turn, and I don't know if you looked at me at all during that movie, but there were a couple scenes that
A
I
couple
was
times. Yeah.
wide eyed, like
Mhm.
mind blown with what was happening.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be as, as vague as possible with this, but
Yeah.
there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to really just kind of love about this movie, and it's
Yeah.
is it going to be something that's going to make it on probably even my top 10 of the year? I'm not quite sure, but it is something that I think that should be watched.
Yeah. I mean, I think Lanthimos' films are a bit tough to get into for the average film goer, right? But if you're like curious about getting into more prestige cinema and you want to look for like good directors with maybe some more accessible movies, I think Begonia is easily one of the most like accessible prestige films out there. I think you would really do yourself some justice to love and embrace and learn about some really great films by starting here. I think it could be a great accessibility tool for a lot of people. And it's kind of a shame the movie isn't doing super well. I think it was made on like a $45 million budget. It's only got about 15 million so far. Um, I don't think Lanthimos ever cares about his box office numbers,
Yeah.
for sure. And I mean, as an auteur, and as a Oscar-winning filmmaker and director of Oscar winner acting talent, he's gonna get chance after chance from studios.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's yet another movie that could have really fallen into the trap of being like, see what we're doing politically? We're making fun of the Republicans or, those liberal capitalist Democrats, right?
Yeah.
There's subtle jabs like they're counting down towards the lunar eclipse because something's supposed to happen on the lunar eclipse. And I don't know if you noticed, but the world gets flatter and flatter and flatter
Oh no, I
every time
didn't.
that
I did
happens.
not notice
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So like a clear allusion to, crazy conspiracy theories that the earth is actually flat. Um, just, little things like that, I think, are stuff that people can kind of easily pick up on and be like, oh, that's probably a metaphor for something. So, film criticism is often very difficult because film is often made up of such different and diverse interpretations and, learning about different techniques and stuff. I think this film could be a really, really good jumping off point for people. And
Agreed.
I enjoyed what this movie had to do. I do think it's a little too long.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
I think this movie if this movie was like a tight 90 minutes or maybe like 100 minutes or so, I think it would have been a lot better. I think some stuff could have been cut out here, but like don't get me wrong, like I was into most of what this movie was doing. So, I don't know if that makes me more positive on it than you, but
No, I still I this was definitely a win in my book. I will say that do you know much about the original, the Save the Green Planet?
I don't.
So
I don't.
I will tell you I agree with you full-heartedly that this movie could have been a little shorter. It went on a
Mhm.
little long. I actually went into it thinking it was an hour and 28 minutes because that's what Google told me. And when we sat down, I
Yeah.
looked it up again and it said an hour and 58 and I was just like, "Oh man." Um but Save the Green Planet, from what I understand, my brothers told me a little bit about it, that it actually focuses more on multiple CEOs, and it's not just one that he kidnaps. He's like going through and showing one after another, and it's multiple stories
Okay.
within it. So I can't imagine how they do that if this one CEO story already feels short. I don't know if having the
Yeah.
multiple CEOs would make it feel like a more longer drawn out movie or if it makes it feel like it's moving
Maybe.
along faster. Um, so I'd be curious to watch the original and see how it compares to this because, like I said,
Yeah,
I
I
dug
mean,
this
if
movie.
I mean, if that's true, and there's more than one CEO in that new one. By the way, that new one is 118 minutes, so it's pretty much around the same length. Um, if that's true, I can see the movie kind of faltering a bit, and I think the movies that need to be remade are the ones where like you saw the potential in there, but
Agreed.
maybe give it a script overhaul, give it a better director. I think we could do that. Like, please don't remake Back to the Future. Please don't remake The Godfather. Like, they're already good enough for how they are. Give me, give me another Lone Ranger movie. I really dug that 2013 Lone Ranger, and I thought it could have been a fun franchise. I know I talked about that last week. But like, that's the kind of stuff that needs to be remade. Or, remake cool stories from um other countries that maybe did not get the level of prestige of like a Parasite, right? Like we don't need a remake of Parasite. The movie's already good. The movie already won Best Picture. Like remake a weird random science fiction black comedy film from South Korea
I'll
to,
be
bring it out to more audiences.
100% honest, and I know I can already hear you sigh. But next month we're getting a Silent Night, Deadly Night remake, and I feel like that's one of the perfect movies to do a remake of. Because I'll be honest, that first movie, all of them, they're not good. They're cult classics and they're fun to watch, but they're like none of them
Mhm.
are good movies. So this is our chance.
No side
Also,
for me.
also, let me tell you that something I just learned with that Silent Night, Deadly Night remake is it's actually Halloween Ends Part 2 because Corey plays plays the killer.
Now you get my sigh
Yeah,
because
that's
you
where it
had
comes in.
to
Yep.
bring in Halloween Ends,
Yep.
didn't you? God, I just revisited that movie recently, and I'm like, you cut the Corey stuff out. You got something here, but
No,
Jesus, like
you don't cut the
to
Corey stuff
basically
out. You
shoot,
put Corey in the first movie. That's how you fix it.
yeah. If you're going to, I
Yeah.
mean, I think that route's kind of stupid. I didn't like that they went there in the first place, but I 100% agree. Like, if you're gonna do the Corey route, put him in the first movie, build it up over 3 movies, and then leave him as a legitimate heir to Michael Myers, and don't just kill him off at the end
Yep.
because you don't know what to do with him, right? Man. Okay, so, do you have anything else to say on Begonia?
I don't know. I just want to
No.
stress that
Sure.
while it's not going to make it in my top 10, I still think this is a movie that people should go and see and watch. And if you don't catch it in a theater because the advertising was quite honestly horrible for this movie, catch it when it comes to streaming, buy it, do whatever you do at movies, buy it digitally. It's a good movie to have and watch.
Yeah, I fully believe in supporting good movies with your dollars, so if it means streaming it on Netflix or going to a theater and watch it, go see it. It's a good movie.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, did you wanna try a game?
I'd love to try a game if you want. We definitely
Yeah.
got time.
Yeah, let's do it. We kept that review nice and concise.
All right. What do you.
All
Oh,
right.